I have a big thing where I'll see people that are struggling and I don't want them to fail. So I invest because I feel bad for them. And then by the end of it, it looks like I'm getting something out of it. And I'm having to explain to them, like, I'm not getting anything out of this. It genuinely makes me happy to see you win. It hurts me to see you fail. I'm not getting anything out of this. So I had to learn over time, that's not the best way to help people to receive things. Instead, I should be somebody who has a healthy balance between giving and receiving. Otherwise, when you just give, the problem with that is called giving away your power. Say that word, giving away your power. Giving away your power. Yeah, so it has to be a fair exchange. Otherwise, you're robbing the person from receiving what it is that you have to offer. And there's much, much deeper layers to this. Like even in our own evolution, you're probably very, very aware, there's a lot of paradigms that you yourself weren't even able to access until you went through pain. Look at a lot of these higher level paradigms that you had to go through pain to even be able to understand, right? A common one that I've seen is like, I love the idea of like manifestation, law of attraction. I think it's amazing, but I also think that it gets abused. I think it's like one of my favorite concepts that's a very accurate concept while being one of the most misinterpreted concepts maybe in the world. Like maybe one of the most misinterpreted concepts in the world. And so I'll see people who, they think, I'll just stay in a good state and I'll manifest something. And they don't learn how to do things like build systems, like what I was talking about earlier. They ignore systems building. They ignore getting some kind of unique proposition to offer to others. They ignore all the different concepts of business, and they think they're just going to get given free money. And it's very, very sad. And unfortunately, the idea of manifestation, while being one of my favorite ideas, can really derail a lot of people in personal growth in a major way. It's very sad. Very, very sad, incredibly sad. And so what winds up happening is they have to go through pain to get to the point where they realize, you know what? God doesn't give you what you want, gives you what you need. And what I needed was to stop being an idiot that believes in manifestation. And what I needed was to build systems, right? Like I need to actually build wealth or build success in using proven fundamentals, getting back to core basics, getting back to the truth, which the truth is that there's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. There's many variations of those, but they generally are, centered around principles of integrity, of real value, of real funnels, of real systems, and so on and so forth. You can't just manifest your way out of that. You'll think that you can. Even when I say that, you're like, no, but I can. I got a parking spot this one time. It's like, no, that's going to derail you more. I've watched the manifestation philosophy ruin whole entire lives. Ruin lives. But that leads them to enough pain to truly absorb what works. Until, as long as you still always want the easy way out, you're going to keep coming back to that easy way out. A lot of life is like coming back to foundational principles. And by the way, one of those foundational principles is what they teach in manifestation, which is to raise your vibe. So that's why that's a very confusing one. It's a major, major problem, right? It's like all this stuff is a lot of time and energy, right? But then again, people are always like, well, that takes time and energy. What's the faster way? And it's like everything that works takes some time and energy. People are always looking for the low-hanging fruit, right? But the high-hanging fruit is often the best fruit. When you can build systems like this, you have to understand the ability to get multi-million-dollar business deals. Like for me, for example, part of the reason why I can keep down the price in like my general price range is we have so much revenue coming in from some of the richest people in the world. Well, how do I meet the richest people in the world? I do that by deliberately leveraging different social events and then doing private trainings with them. So it's one of these things where I'm applying what I'm teaching in many, many different areas, right? Like I'm meeting some of the best directors. I'm meeting some of the best finance people. I'm meeting some of the best, behind the scenes people. Like people that kind of know the deal behind the scenes and things like that. I'm meeting the best social media influencers. I'm not just out there, trying to meet people that I say have, attraction or chemistry with. That's not what I'm doing at all. That's not enough of an ROI for me. Okay? That's not a sufficient ROI for why I do what I do. Like if it's just me, like just needing to, handle my business, like I could do that by myself in my room. You know what I'm saying, right? Like I don't need intimacy so badly that I'm going to go out 7 days a week. That's crazy. Who would, that's not possibly enough of an ROI on that much time. What is an ROI is getting more confident, working on body language, social skills, eye contact, frame control, state control, learning to read the play better, learning to get out of your head more, the art form of it, the fun of the overall situation, all the people who you meet and making money off of it. You should ideally be getting paid to go out. You should be getting paid to go on dates. You should be getting paid to meet new people. You shouldn't be losing money to do that. So, a lot of what I teach is a little bit like, some people just teach it differently. Some people a little more meat and potatoes are like, look, that's all great, Owen. I kind of just meat and potatoes. Like, I'm kind of lonely right now. Like, could you help me to meet somebody by the end of the week? And I definitely show a ton of that too. I like to teach at different levels. Somebody's more meat and potatoes are like, look, I'm just kind of lonely. Like, could you help me out? Like, this sounds great. I kind of don't want to change that much. I kind of just meat and potatoes kind of person. I actually help out a lot of people like that. I think that's very valid. Not everybody wants to take it to that level. I get that. And there's a lot of solutions to just meet somebody quickly, right? Just get out there, just improve a little bit, and you'll get a result. It's not like you have to wait until you do all this stuff to get your first result, right? Your results will be increasing as you progress. But at the same, like it should be, even like week 1 of doing this, it should be fairly easy to go meet somebody who you could hang out with. That's generally a, fairly easy thing to do. That's like pretty normal. Like if you're just a normal person, you meet another normal person, you chat, you joke around a little bit, and you just do that enough times, you're probably going to meet somebody. You just have to, the biggest reason why people can't do it is because if they feel like they got rejected, it messes with their confidence, and then they carry this weird energy of rejection and defensiveness into the following interactions. That's actually the main reason why most people can't do it. If you could just be yourself and be normal every single time and ignore, the pain that not everybody loves me, if you can deal with that, you can meet somebody relatively quickly. But in my opinion, the real value comes in from making money from it, from personal change, personal transformation, beautiful life experiences. We're doing this event right here. You got to, have a beautiful view of the city, for example. It's a little dark out, can't see it right now, but, why is it that I do this? I do it to build experiences. Why do I come teach these events? I do it to build experiences. So keep thinking about how to get financial ROI. Keep thinking about how to get ROI as far as bringing people in your life, but also be thinking about how to get skill set ROI and better life experience ROI. Just keep thinking how to stack those. You've got to think creatively about what it is that you're doing. If you don't think creatively about it, you're another derper who basically just has one little ROI coming in, which is really, really bad. Almost everything I teach when I'm doing mentoring or things like that is multiple ROI focus. Massive amounts of auditing, massive amounts of synergy, massive amounts of ROI. Yep.
For someone that's like codependent or like strong people-pleasing tendencies,
yes.
When you say when they can invest in it, they can get more out of it.
Well, then what I'm saying is that if you are a people pleaser and codependent, you have to resist that and allow the person to step into it, right? And the hardest thing for me about that was it's like, no, I just want to give and give and give it, right? That's why I do these like long videos on social media that cost tens of thousands of dollars. That's half of that is a healthy place of me enjoying giving for healthy reasons. Probably another big part of that is people pleasing, if we're being honest. I'm just a natural people pleaser. But I've learned, no, you have to receive also. And otherwise they can't get the value.
So would you say like the most productive way to do that is to like get super focused on like building these multiple ROI systems?
Yes.
Which will give them the space?
Yes. Yeah, because what happens, that's actually a great sort of circling back that you did there. Basically what he's saying is that if you're a natural people pleaser, you basically make yourself so busy with all the spinning plates that you have that you can't fall into that. You're running your event, you can't just sit there people pleasing the one person. So you've got to really center it around you. You've got to get comfortable with doing things for others, but also doing things for you. It's a weird balance between, say that you're a taker, you're a value taker, and you live your whole life in this value-taking mode, which is like, 98% plus of people. It's very sad, or maybe not that, but it's a sadly large number due to consumer culture, mass demoralization of society, and all these things that have people in like a value taker mode. So when you realize the beauty of giving, that's the first step into your ascension. But the next step that you'll realize is that if you're just a pure giver, you're actually not stepping into your power. You don't have as much to give. You have been bled out. You have been just like, you become like an emptied out husk. You don't have enough to give anymore. You can't give something if you don't have something to give. But also what happens is that people won't even receive it. People value that which is, that they have to go purchase, right? If diamonds were, inside of a Cracker Jack box, you wouldn't care about them, right? For me to give you a diamond, is only if I just gave that to you, that's only meaningful to you because you know the price of it. If you thought I got it out of a Cracker Jack box, you'd say, cool, thanks, but you wouldn't care, right? There's all sorts of little like neat little stones that I could give you that like, objectively speaking, probably look as cool as a diamond, but the diamond's the one that you want. Even if you weren't even allowed to resell it, you just want it because it's expensive. So you have to make it where, getting to talk to you enhances their status. You are the diamond. You are that cool person where they get to look better by knowing you. You want to get it where people feel like they're getting clout by being associated to you. You've got to get it where you want to get to where people feel validated by getting your time. Your time will be worth whatever you say it's worth, but then you've got to also truly step into that and own it. If your time is worth nothing, then the value that people perceive will be nothing, even if objectively speaking you have a lot to offer. But it's the price that you put on it that you have to take note of. It's about a healthy balance between giving and receiving. There's a great video by Aaron Doughty. He did a speech to me. You guys might have seen it. He had a very good take on that. You might want to look that up too. Yep.
Okay, so I've noticed that my social interactions for the first 2 to 4 minutes are actually going pretty decently. I'd say about intermediate. but then afterwards, it actually fizzles out very, very slowly.
Okay, so here's a couple thoughts on it. One of it is what we've been saying. Okay, so it's a combination of A, being able to project the emotion, right? Being emotionally and contextually relevant. If people are having fun with you, like what may happen is because you're not used to having fun, you're able to sort of put that on for a couple minutes, but then very, very quickly it runs out. So that's something that takes a high degree of introspection and you looking at yourself and saying, why is it hard for me to be fun for an extended period of time? Why is it actually emotionally exhausting for me to be fun for an extended period of time? And I just want to go back in my head and be this like math problem computing type of person, even though not math necessarily, or math, I don't know. Back when you were like 12 years old and you had social rejection, something in your brain said, I need to be more and offer more because I'm not enough. And so what happens is that rather than offering more of like your true self, you offered more about how you can solve problems for other people. And so your brain thinks that it gets value from solving problems for other people. So what you want to do, were you in the free event that I did the other day? Okay, so like my kid Tristan came up. He believes that he has value just by his presence. If you look at Tristan, like he's running around, he's just like, I'm here, ta-da! Like if we get Tristan to come in here, it's just like, I'm here, ta-da! My presence brings value. He just thinks that he brings value because he's here. He literally just thinks he's putting on a show. He has value just because he's there. Everybody's just excited to see him. He believes that. That is such a powerful frame that you could adopt. Just like, I'm here, I have value just for me. But that comes through in a radiance in the pupil. It comes through in a sort of a childlike innocence. It comes through in a natural flow state that you'll enter into. And because a lot of people feel very, very uptight, you'll notice that when you can project that, people feel less judged. They feel sort of like a lightheartedness around you, and they get addicted to it like a drug. Then what you do, though, is you don't just give it all to one person. Maybe you talk to some other people. Maybe right on a high note, you talk to somebody else, and then they're trying to pull back in that attention. Maybe you get them in your social media, then they start seeing all these cool things about you, so that's another thing. Now, here's another point. You don't necessarily have to have it last more than 4 minutes. You could just say, hey, let's trade Insta, right? If you're seeing this in the future, some other platform is hopefully taking over. But let's trade whatever, in the future, like virtual reality thing while we all live in a pod because we lost. I hope we didn't. And so, but this is the trajectory, but we're fighting that. So the basic idea is like, whatever, follow-up device that it is that you're using, you could just do that after 4 minutes, right? Having that event like yourself gives you something to just, on this one that's kind of fizzling out, you still have that as a backup, where you can still bring them more into your world later. That's another one. Another one is they just don't feel a high price tag. They're just like, there's some other cool validation that I could chase. What are they chasing when they're out? Emotions, validation, somebody who is maybe in a higher life position than them, and greater opportunities of better places to go. Okay, another way to call that is like status, emotion, validation, better places to go. That's really why they're out, right? It's either dance, chase validation, meet someone at a higher level than where they're at and their friends are at, or go to a cooler place than they could normally go. That's what they're looking for. So you've got to start to tweak that and kind of dial that in. So as a base starting point, that's like learning about free association, learning how to use your voice, eye contact, frame control, learning how to have fun for a longer period of time. It's like a muscle. If I don't go out for a long time, I can definitely tell you that it's harder for me to have fun for longer because I go in business mode, right? I might have built several $1 million in my business. That's great. You'd think, you'd think right now, all of you would think right now, if you had a couple extra $1 million, wouldn't you have an extra pep in your step? Wouldn't you be a little bit more confident? You'd think that, right? No, for me, what I find just the opposite. Usually to produce that money, I have to dig so hard. I have to really deny my natural humanity by locking in and focusing. And so what winds up happening is that I get out there in a very logical state, and I lose that kind of like, Tristan-esque kind of, I'm here, ta-da, I lose that. And so it takes me a minute to get it back. And, I'll try to have interactions that are very, very logical. They don't go anywhere. They're not contextually relevant. So even though I'm more successful, they're not contextually relevant interactions. This is actually why it's unfortunate. I don't teach as much social stuff as I used to. And so a lot of other people have kind of, I've spent 2 decades creating the tire tracks for that. A lot of other people are kind of riding the tire tracks. And a lot of them are saying things like, and it sounds on the surface like it's correct, but it's actually in practice not as correct as probably they think. They'll say things like, in order to get value, you got to bring value. It's like you don't track what you want, you track what you are. So if you're a multimillionaire, then you track the best quality people. And I can tell you from experience, most multimillionaires that I know, many of them sleep with prostitutes, right? Because they've literally made themselves so logical. A lot of multimillionaires, for example, so this is sort of a tangent, but a funny point just to add. A lot of multimillionaires can't handle the fickleness of meeting people while they're out. They're like they'll say things to me, like I'll have friends that are very wealthy, and maybe I'll be setting it up to meet up with someone, and they're like, so tell them to meet up at 7:30. Tell them to be there dressed like this, and tell them to do this, right? And I'm like, I'm not paying them. Like, you pay hookers, so you could do that. Like, these are people that I met out. They barely know me at all. What I do to deal with that is I 5x book. I'll book 5 different people to go out to, say, a fun little gathering. 2 out of 5 might show up. Could be 5 out of 5. Could be 10 out of 5. Could be 1 out of 5, right? You don't know. It's an odds game, right? Usually pretty good, but you don't know. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm doing something that I'd want to be doing anyway, so that I'm not sitting around waiting, right? I work around the fickleness by establishing my life so that I'm not waiting for anybody. That's a big, big thing. When you're setting up these like one-on-one things, like, no, somebody has to earn you setting up a one-on-one thing. You don't do that right away. In a big city, like if you look outside and you see that city, how many options for somebody who has a lot of options, what do they have going on for themselves? They have so many options. It's ridiculous how many options they have. So you might be a great option, but they've got other options, celebrities, highest quality stuff. They've got a ton of options. So you've got to set it up in a way where you're not just sitting there waiting in bated breath for somebody to be showing up. You've got to have it to where you're doing something that you'd be doing anyway. Double book, triple book, 10x a book, see who comes, go have fun. Maybe whoever you got along with best that particular night, you get to know even better. But then you're also inviting other people, to come and meet up throughout the week after they did the group thing, and you're sure that they're 98% chance going to come and meet up. But I'm not going to sit there like just giving somebody my time who I don't know, and I'm certainly not going to give my time to somebody who doesn't have some kind of social media that I met out, so I can't see what they're up to. People forget that. They're like, that's fickle. That's not fickle. People who aren't busy, people who aren't successful, people who aren't doing things will always shame you that you would expect that somebody has some kind of a social media, because they wouldn't need that to meet up with somebody. But what do you do when you have 100 people a day trying to meet up with you? Like, being here in New York, would you imagine the kind of people that I'm flaking when I'm running this event? Imagine who I'm flaking right now, to be here. One of the people who I really want to hang out with while I'm here was one of Tony Robbins' partners in this whole like stem cell and life regenerative medicine thing. And literally, like the whole event that I'm running, he's like, bro, let's go, let's hang out. Bro, let's go. I really want to hang out with them. I don't have time. Another one of my friends, one of the top guys in all of finance, and he's hitting me up, and I don't have time. And there's people out here that I'm very, very attracted to that want to meet up, and I don't have time. I just don't have time. Oh, by the way, my children are in town. Their mother's taking them around right now. You saw it on my Instagram today in a photo. I don't have time to meet them. But then, so forget Vincent, Dylan, and Tristan. Forget the people that I'd love to go meet that I'm attracted to. Forget my friend in regenerative medicine. Forget my friend who's at the cutting edge of finance who can tell me everything going on in finance right now. Forget my other Luke is out here in New York. Oh, but don't worry about Luke. You guys know my friend Luke, right? But don't worry about him. And my other friend Luke, my friend Luke Radowski, who I was on the Tim Pool show with. He's out here, and I haven't even got to go see him. He's out here this weekend. I'm gonna text him right now. I feel bad actually. Oh no, forget about the guy who like invaded Epstein's Island and made a viral video about it on YouTube and got me on the Tim Pool show. Don't forget about him. I'm gonna meet up with you because we met for 3 minutes and we traded texts. You see what I'm getting at here? Right? Like don't worry about all them. The random person I met out. Well, it's the same thing. A lot of people that are very, very attractive, they're in an even more extreme version of me popping through New York. It's an even more extreme version of that. So you've got to understand the degree of time scarcity that people with options have, and then you've got to create systems that account for fickleness, that account for flaking, that account for the fact that they don't know you that well, that account for valuing your time, but also that social proof you. But then to be fair, you're still gonna have situations where you go out there today and you'll just meet somebody who you really like and you hit it off the same night and something happens. So it's going to be a range of different experiences. I'm not saying that can't happen. I'm not trying to create like this whole, you can't have success, so you create this like, mega mall of systems and things like that. That's not true. What I'm saying is that at a base level, you can start having success tonight, but then from there, if you want to amplify that success, then you can build it out.
Okay, got it.
Okay, it can be built out at a great deal. Yep.
So after Miami and Austin bootcamp, you gave me the advice. You said you have to make people to invest more, and then
invite them to invest more. Yes.
Yes. So when
create the space for them to invest more. You can't make anyone do anything. Yeah.
So when I'm in an interaction, I'm more laid back and I talk less, and I kind of set the boundary of how much effort I will do before they invest. I see like my interaction was way better. I'm meeting a lot of better people, and now so I'm very happy with it, and thank you for the advice.
Thank you.
Now, the next step, I feel that the leadership part, I'm lacking in that. So
yeah, so what it is like you can lay back, which then allows people to step into you, but that's sort of a rudimentary way of thinking of it. So you've got that first step, which is amazing. The next step is like going into your mind and really like kind of auditing, like how do you enjoy life? Like a big thing for me, and it's funny, I make videos about this, and I feel like people that are new feel like it's too abstract. Like they're like, what does this even mean? Like, where do I start? But like a lot of videos that I make are just about like joie de vivre, okay? Like joy of life. Like so much of what I'm doing is going out and just loving life so much that and I love what you're doing and keep doing it, but I'm just saying, I don't need to be like I love what you're doing. I'm just showing you the next step is what I'm saying, okay? So the next step beyond just kind of laying back more is just loving your night so much that people feel that emanating off of you, and then they want to be part of it. And you even could be almost more like talking more and filling in the space, but they can tell that like it's just this like passing thing for you. It's like this transient thing for you, and that you could be in and out like Captain Jack Sparrow, just like, you know, you kind of just roll in and and then, you know, you're out there to the next thing. You just don't care at all, right? So it's kind of like finding your inner Captain Jack Sparrow, like just kind of you're the star of your movie. Say the word star of your movie. Star of your movie. Yeah, because what we do is we make other people the star of our movie. That's like a really, really big thing, okay? There's a powerful spiritual idea that, you know, they say put God first, and that means putting God above your ego. Really, it means, let's get off the word God. It means taking the energy of creation, the energy of abundance, the frequency and energy of life, and connecting to that even ahead of your ego, you know, ahead, because you know the idea in the Bible of the golden calf? Right, in Exodus, they, you know, Moses, like, let my people go, and then, you know, they could take the Exodus, but then while he's gone, they make this golden calf. They start to worship the golden calf. They call that idolatry. Okay, just say the word idolatry to remember it. Idolatry. So when you're, like, too hung up on another person, you're putting the creation before the creator, right? You're putting the human before the creative energy as what you're getting nourishment from. So that's like worshiping an idol. You're turning another person into an idol, or you're turning your ego into an idol, and that's basically decentering you. So instead what we do is we attach to the creator, not the creation, which just means connecting yourself to that energy of life, to that outflow. And what happens is that when you can kind of pick up on that and connect to it, then when you're out, you're gonna find that it's a bigger high than if you got high. It's a bigger drunk than if you got drunk. It is drunk on the joy of life. It's not going to make you have like this like wild hallucination the way that some things could, but I actually don't get high, but a lot of my friends do, probably most do, because most people like to party sometimes. And all my friends who party say, because I teach them how to do this stuff, and we'll go out and we'll do it, and they'll say, you know what? This is like a 7 or 8 out of 10 version of like, say, Molly or something like that. But I feel so much better about it because I made it. Well, the way they describe it, I don't do it, so I don't know. But they'll say, by the way, they say 7 or 8. I suspect it's probably like a 4 compared to Molly, if I'm being honest, because like that's a chemical drug that's like, you're not even supposed to necessarily feel that with like a chemical, and it even drives down serotonin. So I'm skeptical that it's really a 7 or an 8. But a lot of my friends say it's the exact same. They literally say that going out and doing it the way I'm describing is the exact same as doing a Molly. Like I'm like an old man, I'm like doing a Molly. But they'll say that. I don't know if that's true or not. Like it's like, you know I do some of those transformational seminars. People who've done ayahuasca or DMT will say it was like equally as intense as ayahuasca or DMT. I'm highly skeptical of that, but I do appreciate that in the moment they felt that way. I think it's kind of recency bias, but they felt that way at the moment.
They're probably just doing the same behavior. Like when they're on Molly, it's like they're not used to doing that stuff, but they would do that if they...
Well, yeah, I think what it is that they truly get out of their head, they truly tap into flow, they truly stop judging themselves, they truly move with the energy. And so I think that what Molly does is it kind of chemically forces that to an extent. I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. But basically when you do it sober, I think the thing, they all say they like it better. Like I've never seen somebody who said they enjoy taking a pill more than doing it the way that I'm describing. And the reason why is because you did it yourself. One is like, they describe it like a dirty high, where you can kind of feel this like chemical just kind of making your brain do it, but you can't self-generate it. The other is one that is self-generated. And so as a result, you feel a deep, like a self-esteem from that. I was going to say pride, maybe that's not quite the right word, but you feel like a pride, or like a good pride, like a healthy pride, like a self-esteem, like I built this, I did this, I shared this, I did it myself, I did it sober. So a lot of people will say that. Some people say that doing Molly gives them like a reference experience of like having the best night of their life. But for me, what it is, it's about momentum building. It's about saying 1,000 out of 10 after every interaction, feeling it in my body, learning from it and seeing what I could do better, but not judging or attacking myself, pumping myself up, finding things that were funny about every single interaction. So notice that trend there, right? Like everything that I'm doing is to get myself more and more in a flow state. So for example, you ever hear about things like the 3 fatigues? You ever heard anybody talk about that? We talked about that, yeah. The idea of decision-making fatigue, persona fatigue, and self-judgment fatigue. You ever heard that idea, right? Yeah. So what you're doing in recap is you're, like a lot of the time you're like, well, should I talk to them or should I not? That burns down mental energy. If you just had everybody, no matter who they are, the decision's already made. You're actually burn less energy than if you were thinking about who you're gonna talk to. Then what you do is you don't need to maintain a persona because you're being you. Now, we talked earlier about that, persona, authenticity, range of expression, but over time of doing this, in the same way that, if I talk to your mom, I talk to your mom in a certain way. If I talk in a business meeting, I talk in a certain way. Well, there's a certain way that I just sort of talk and relate to people when I'm out that kind of works for me at this point. Varying degrees of success night by night, but that is an overall, 1,000x improvement over when I first started. And so as a result of that, when I'm out there, I'm kind of in that natural state, so I don't have a persona on. Because what happens when you have a persona, right? It's burning down energy. It's okay to do that initially to learn and to try different things, but once you're longer term in this, you shouldn't have to do that because you're kind of in a good spot. You're kind of deepening that spot rather than always new spots. But at the same time, you'll try new stuff too sometimes. Kind of depends. That's a nuanced topic. We'll just jump over that. And then the next thing is that you don't self-judge. Okay, you're not self-judging. So as a result of that, you're not judging yourself, and then you're not beating yourself up, and then you feel good. So imagine if you're going to talk to everybody, you weren't putting on a persona. You weren't judging yourself bad. You're saying 1,000 out of 10. 1,000. Yeah, finding something funny about it and saying, who would have the guts to do that? Say that. Who would have the guts to do that, right? So it's a reframe of I did that. I got momentum. I learned from it. Most people wouldn't do it. They certainly wouldn't do it sober. I did it. And then you get in a euphoric state. And then what happens is that it's just kind of pouring out of you. That should be something distinct from a frenetic state or needing something or going too crazy. Although I'd rather that you veer towards that side if you're somebody who's not used to it. I'd actually prefer, I'd rather that you ease into being a little too tense and frenetic and da-da-da over being too laid back, because if you're too laid back, then you're not going to do anything in some cases. So I'd almost rather that you kind of go, even more kind of putting yourself out there. And then over time, you can learn to kind of dial it back in through trial and error. So I actually prefer people pushing their own personal range a little bit, and then over time they can dial back in. It's a lot, if you inflate a balloon really big, it's easier to kind of just let it back in than it is to kind of leave it tight, right? So you're better to push it out. But yeah, if you do that enough and you just focus on momentum building, then you'll find that you're getting a lot of attraction with people, meeting a lot of great people. Over time, what you're going to find is that you're getting such a great response, and you wind up being the most popular person in the venue. People are I've never met somebody like you. You're amazing. How do you exist? Where did you come from? This is the best night of my life. Everybody else here sucks but you. And a big one you're gonna get a lot is you're awesome. They just start shrieking, you're awesome. They're just you're awesome, you're awesome. And they start shrieking, you're awesome. And you'll see this again and again. And that's happening not even necessarily because of you, but because you got out of the way of that flow of life, of that flow of creation. You got out of the way of that, and they're just kind of feeling that off of you. Then from there, though, you've got to be good at receiving. You've got to be good at okay, well, you enjoy that, but, right? It's over here now. And then let them say, no, I want to get back in. Then they invest in it, or you can use social media. Other quick questions? Yep.
So my social skills has improved from the last program that I took.
Mm-hmm.
And it became the approaching and the vibing became in my reality, something I do.
Normal to just see people, meet them and vibe. Yep.
Yeah, and now I'm at the point where moving it forward becomes it's a bit out of my reality.
So a lot of that is basically you've got to have a funnel, and that's a funnel for how to move something forward then and there, but also a funnel for how to move things forward, because okay, so let me give you an example, right? So I have a program called Higher Purpose Program. That program is amazing. Has anybody here seen it yet? It's a free program that I do. It's completely amazing. I put a ton of work into it. And basically what I did was I released a program that should be a couple $100 or $1,000 or whatever, probably a G, and I released it completely for free. But I did it because to get the program, you basically just give your phone number, your email. That's basically what you do. You get $1,000 for free, you give your phone number and email. We did that because we want to be able to reach out to the people who like our stuff. So when I do that program, basically the way that I have it is that I understand that we've had, it's been like a tsunami of people that have jumped in this thing, okay? So it's $1,000 for free in exchange for a phone call, and you could even technically skip the phone call. So basically what it is that in that program, as far as that being leads, Would you say that that's qualified leads or not that qualified leads if it's people that just kind of want a freebie? Yeah, but it's high volume, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's high volume, but it's not super duper qualified, okay? So basically what we do is we offer a free phone call, and the free phone call is loaded with value. So it's a free course and a free phone call loaded with value. Like if somebody went on there, they don't buy anything, nobody's gonna bug them, it's a great free phone call, and if they love the phone call, maybe they'll pick up something with us later anyway, so we wanna make it good. But there is a lot of what you call low qualified people in there. So what I do is I train different coaches who, they may not be an expert, but they're teaching my process. Like they're taking you through a process that I taught them to take them through that's very eye-opening and enlightening. No matter who would do it with you, it's kind of got some cool surprise in it, very, very good. So basically what I do is I do that, but what I'm aiming to do is I'm looking to get people that are, say, not super talented to do that, who could do that at volume. Okay, so those are the people doing that at volume. From there's gonna be people from those thousands and thousands and thousands of people that love what I do and they're into investing in themselves, they value their time, they value results, they're more results oriented, they're not so much price sensitive as they are time sensitive, they hate wasting time, they're not just burning their money on garbage, they like to invest in themselves, and they really, really like what it is that I teach. Well, from all those people, you're gonna find a small handful like that too, right? So those are the kind of people where, they actually wanna do business with us, whereas other people that are more, they'll take a free phone call, get some value, they'll do, a free course, but they're not looking to go deeper. Maybe they don't like to invest in themselves, maybe they don't value their time, maybe they don't care about the result that much. They just thought the free course was kind of cool, whatever, right? Or a free call is cool. So what you have is people that are what you call like a high quality lead and a low quality lead. So what you want to have is you want to have a system for high quality leads and a system for low quality leads. So what would be an example? For low quality leads, if you're running a business, you could have your less talented team members who are paid less to go through those, and as long as you can make the numbers work, where somebody who's less talented, you don't have to pay as much, you're doing that at volume, you've got a team of people that are doing that, then as long as you make $1 more, might as well do it, right? Ideally, you could do better than that, but that's the point. But then you have your high quality leads that you give to the people that are actually very, very well paid and very effective, and that's who you give the better quality leads to. So the main thing is that, likewise, if you're, say, doing a party, you want to have it to where somebody who's kind of into you but not that into you can come and still provide social proof. Like when I do a free event, remember, I'm doing video recording there and I'm still getting social proof. That image of me in front of a 1,000-person crowd, whether it was a free event or not, burns into the psyche. I'm still leading a giant sea of people who are there to hear what I have to say. Whether that's a free event or not, it's a giant sea of people there to hear what I have to say, and I'm owning that in a position of authority. So, maybe 80% of that room, in a room that big, is never gonna come on a private training, but 20, 30, 40% will, and then the people who don't, they provided social proof. So you wanna get it to where, just like yourself with events, you wanna get it to where there's an opportunity for somebody who wants to hang out that night. You've got to structure an opportunity for that. Sometimes that'll just be, like for example, I could walk into a free event, and as I'm walking in, someone's like, hey, I saw those private trainings that you have. How do I get on that? I've got to have a way where when somebody just is like that, I'm like, here's how you sign up, just like that, right? So the equivalent of that when you're going out would be, somebody's going to be very, very into you. Do you know exactly how to land the plane quickly and not be like, yeah, I have like an event and I have I've got, social media, and they're like, dude, I don't want to look at your social media, I don't want to go to your event. Let's have fun now, right? So you're going to have situations like that. So you've got to be at ease to recognize those. Then you're going to have ones that are into you, but they're not just now, right? That's, probably a bit more common. And then you've got to know how to handle that. So example would be, in a place like New York, you have, now this is post-pandemic, so a lot of these are shut down. Back in the day, you would have had Veselka, a restaurant called Veselka, which is probably my favorite, a restaurant called Cafeteria, a restaurant called Miss Korean Barbecue that's a lot better than it sounds, actually pretty awesome. You have a restaurant called L'Espresso Bouchon, and you have a restaurant called Copelia, and those would be the main 5 here. Or you could have friends who have after parties. If you're a little bit more plugged in, you know where the after parties are, and so on and so forth. Now, unfortunately, post-pandemic, I think Miss Korean Barbecue is open in Copelia, Veselka closes early, Cafeteria closes early, and a bunch of the rest close early. So basically what you have is that you'd also want to have after parties, right? So I have friends that are here that are DJs that have access to underground clubs and so on and so forth. So I could bet, let's go to this club, let's go to after hours party, let's do a little after party, maybe create an after party with your friends, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to do that. Now, likewise, you also want to have things that you can show in social media. And then that brings in higher volume but lower quality leads. Those are people who are not, I said all this earlier, but I'm repeating it. Those are people that are not that into you, but they'll come and they'll see you in your best version of you because it's an environment that you're running. Just like me doing a big free event, you're seeing me in my best version of me. So if you've got that big event where they're going to see you in a favorable light, they begin to change. Like I can't tell you, like when I started doing parties, just how much my volume went up. It was unmanageable. My volume became unmanageable. It became, every day I'm waking up, 5 to 15 people a day was my average, actively pursuing me and chasing me down, and me saying, who am I going to say no to? I felt stressed being like, who am I going to say no to? I used to get it where every night at 2 a.m., there was floods of very attractive people clamoring up by the gate of my house, trying to come in for after party, because they would just see in my Instagram that I had a lot of little get-togethers after hours, and then they just viewed it like, oh, that's like a safe place for somebody like me to come and hang out. And so it got to the point where I would have to get my staff, if I was out, I'd have to call my staff at like 1:45, be like, you gotta wait by the door, and not have like a clamoring group of people by the door, because they're all gonna try to come up, because people that came up before, they're just thinking I might be here and they'll come up. So you get to the point where people are chasing you down. You get to the point where you're with somebody who like would normally 5 years ago would have intimidated you to the point that you're, totally like your heart rate's up and you're sweating and you're scared, and they're saying to you, thank you for spending time with me. I know you're busy. I know that everybody wants to be around you. I'm just so happy that you'd come and hang out with me. What even made you choose me to hang out with me? What even made you choose me, little old me? And in your mind, you're like, you're like, I'm a little leprechaun, short and stout, right? And like, literally, like you can't believe that would be happening, but it's all in the positioning, right? It's all in the buyer-seller dynamic that you're creating. So, and keep in mind too, I want to explain something to you that by creating the right buyer-seller dynamic, you're creating openings that you can't even imagine. Like, one thing that I could tell you is like, I will be literally walking down the street and I'm just sitting there like, just like normal idiot, walking down the street, half out of it, farted, right? And then somebody who knows me from online is like, Owen, oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing you, right? And you'll see that they'll have a cigarette and they'll like start throwing it out. And literally as a hobby, I do this like once a week. I'll grab them by the head and I'll be like, look at me now. We were meant to meet. And they're like, I know we're meant to meet. I'm like, we're meant to meet. They're like, I know it. And I'm like, you're meant to quit smoking. Say you'll never smoke again. Say it now, or I'll do it with weight, right? I'll do it with weight. Like, somebody's like overweight. I'm like, you're gonna lose weight. They're like, yes. I'm like, yes. I'm like, look at me. Yes, right? They're like, yes, right? And then like I go to walk away, and then I'm like, and then like I gotta go, right? I can't just walk around talking to everybody who knows me from the internet. So I can't. It's unmanageable. Again, it's like unmanageable. So then I'm like, and then I'm like, shh. I'm like, no. Shh. You know what to do. Right? And so then I'm like back at the, I'm like, anyway, babe. Right, just getting on my day. And literally like some like lean person or some really healthy looking person like comes up to me randomly on the street later and is like, oh my God, we met 2 years ago. I lost 100 pounds. I became a millionaire. I stopped smoking. All because of that day. You said it was meant to be, and it was, right? And in my mind, I'm like, that's just like a little prank that I play like every week, right? But literally because I built a brand, and what happens is that the advice is received. You see that? So what happens is that you frame yourself in such a manner that people actually listen. And you'll see it where, you're trying to give advice to your knucklehead friends. You're giving them $1 million advice and they won't even listen to you. But if, you'll sit there like they'll be like, look, bro, like I sat here listening to you for half an hour, hearing you out. Like, come on, I did you a favor and heard you out, right? Like, this was all about you. That's not a favor to me. That was about you. But what it is that they perceive it that they're just doing you a favor just by letting you get something off your chest about them, as opposed to being something they'd pay for. So it's in the framing, like I can give you this advice here, and because I'm positioned as an expert, you will write down what I say, you will take to heart what I say, you will value what I say because of the framing. But without the framing, it's just another knucklehead friend giving their opinions. If anything, I would be your annoying friend that talks for hours without a break. You see this? Like, oh yeah, just Owen, He just like goes on for like 2 hours without a break. It's like, this guy, you know, right? But because I'm positioned in it as an authority, then it becomes a favor. And then it's like, thank you. If you read the comments of the video, thank you, thank you, thank you. So that is the, you know, the kind of the voodoo behind the scenes, right? That's how you know, like the Wizard of Oz, you cast a big shadow. But it's one thing to know that, like, well, I know you're just doing that, Owen. Okay, cool. Good for you. You know that I'm doing that. Your turn. Your turn. You go build the big business. You go build the big following. You go build the big social life. Using what I'm saying. Oh, no, because you could know the trick, but now you got to do the trick. You see what I'm saying? So it's not just, you know, like, okay, so to get super duper jacked in the gym, all you got to do is just lift weight. Like, that's it. Like, all you do is just pound these weights and eat a bunch of steaks. Yeah, but do it. But do it. So it's one thing to know what it means to do proper framing. It's another thing to do it. What's valuable that I did was I did it. I didn't make excuses. I went out and I did it. And I did it several times, even with, you know, some of the challenges that I've hit. I could repeat it, and I got other people to do it. Think of any major social media influencer who is doing long-form content, high chance that I mentored them. So this works not just for me. How many other teachers have you seen where they did it for themselves? Then they did it for a whole instructor team over the years. I just didn't want to create new instructors lately, but I will again at some point. But did it historically for almost my whole career, did it for other people. It was replicable by other people who had great success in their own right, but also did it for so many of the different social media influencers online. So think about that for a minute. I'd also do it with very wealthy clients who just want to learn how to run parties because they're wealthy but they're lonely. So this is replicable. It's not like an Owen thing. This is a thing that has been done by other people that you watch. It's been done by other people who I've worked with directly. It's been done by people who I've worked with indirectly. So replicate the system. Like, you can get it, but do it. Do it. That's the key.